webinar. We still have a number of people logging on, and we will begin in a few moments. This is Devin Werble with the John Burton Foundation. We are really looking forward to today's topic on coaching models, and we will begin in a couple minutes. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. We still have some people logging on, and we will begin in a few moments. Hello and welcome to today's webinar. This is Devin Werble with the John Burton Foundation. We still have a number of people logging on at the moment, so we'll begin in about 1 minute. Okay, good morning everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. This is Devin Werble with the John Burton Foundation, and we are excited this morning to provide you a webinar on coaching models. And today this call is actually co-sponsored with the Career Ladders Project, and we'll feature an exploration of two different coaching models. One of our highlighted speakers are representatives from Beyond Emancipation and the other from Western Michigan University. And as you see on your slide here, the webinar technical details, the call-in phone number for attendees is listed there on your screen. If you have any questions or issues logging in, please use your chat panel and your question panel on the right-hand side of your screen. We will be taking questions and answers at the end of today's call. We will not be doing, typically on these practice calls, we've done a raise your hand, unmute scenario, and we've decided with the rich content that we have today, we're going to wait on the questions till the end. So please definitely click on the question and answer arrow on your screen, type your question, and hit send, and we will be fielding those questions and waiting until the end of today's session. As always, our PowerPoint and recording of the web seminar will be posted online at the California College Pathways website under the training materials. And if any of you are listening to this broadcast on your computer, if it's coming in kind of fuzzy, it's always better to use a phone if you can. So if you have any questions, if you need help with that, we would be happy to troubleshoot. Next slide, please. So today's presenters, as I mentioned, this call is co-sponsored with our partners at the Career Ladders Project. We have Carol Davies and Rachel Antrobus from Career Ladders Project. We have Yvonne Rao from Western Michigan University and Leslie Brown from Beyond Emancipation. Next slide. A couple quick college pathways updates. We're really excited to let you all know that Senate Bill 1023 passed the Senate and is now moving on to the Assembly. So thanks to all of you on this call today who have sent support letters and perhaps made district visits in support of this really exciting piece of legislation. And we will, of course, continue to provide updates on the movement of this bill as it continues. The other quick update is we will be issuing a template for our community colleges who would like to include foster youth in the equity plan. So this is an opportunity for those of you working with foster youth to really call this population out in the campus-wide equity plan, and we're working on a template to help you do that, and it will be available in the middle of this month. The other quick highlight is we now have a new webpage on our California College Pathways website. It's the Southern California Consortium Committee materials. So those of you who may not be able to attend in person, or if you're on the phone when these meetings take place, take place quarterly in Southern California. All the materials, handouts, resource documents, templates that other campuses are sharing, we now have a place to store them on our website. So we're really excited about that. And the link is there for you. Next slide, and I believe we are going to go right into Carol Davies, Senior Consultant with the Career Ladders Project. Thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you, Devin. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to have you on this webinar. I am with the Career Ladders Project. If you're not familiar with Career Ladders, they're a nonprofit under the California Community College Foundation Chancellor's Office that works on educational and career advancement opportunities for Californians. As you can see on the slide, we really focus on opportunities through research, policy initiatives, and strategic assistance to assist colleges and their workforce development partners. It's really all about helping implement educational and career pathways to ensure that disadvantaged youth and adults receive education and training that meets the real demands of employers and leads to high-wage, high-demand careers. I want to talk with you a little bit about a project that I have been involved in, and this is the Community College Pathways Community of Practice. This is an initiative funded from blended funding through the State Foundation and the Walter S. Johnson. And this is where we reached out to colleges and formed communities of practice that engage colleges around strategies that would increase their number of foster youth who are completing college certificates and degrees. And so as you can see by the map there, we had a community of practice in 2009 made up of Santa Rosa, Los Medanos, Lamy, San Jose, Fresno City College. It really spanned the state, and it was really deep, rich work. Then we had a second community of practice in 2013, and it was a smaller community of practice, but it really focused on looking at ways to transformation of the colleges to increase the impact. So, in both of these community of practices, we, engaged and connected colleges not only to each other, but to promising practices. We really focused on helping them to transform their work, to think a little differently about it, so that they had increased impact. And then when you come to sustainability, how do we sustain this momentum and this work? Our funding is sunsetting with the Stewart Foundation and the Johnson Foundation around this. And so our interactions with the colleges have really bubbled up about this coaching strategy. And they have really taken hold of this, and there's been great interest. And that's really how we ended up here today. So I'm going to introduce Rachel Androbus, who's with the Career Ladders Project, and she's going to talk with you a little bit about what she's involved in.
Thanks, Carol. So we thought it might be helpful today to talk a little bit about another project we have at Career Ladders Project that is focused on transition from high school to college, and that's the California Community College Linked Learning Initiative. Can you to the next slide? Thanks. So just briefly, we just wanted to give you a little feel for this project because there's some overlap work that we found that really work effectively for young people as they're transitioning into community college through this project. It's a project that's been funded by the Irvine Foundation. It's focused in 3 industry areas. So it's basically working with high school students that have been doing sector-based kind of curriculum in their high schools around arts, media, entertainment, health science and media technology, and public service and law, and finding out how those pathways can be accelerated when they get into community college by lining up with a complementary pathway into a local community college. We're finding out through this project how many of our young people are transitioning, foster youth included, the students that are ending up our local community colleges. In some communities, it's over 60–70% of young people land their first year in the local college. So we've been providing some technical assistance, and then we have an outside evaluator doing some work. We're happy to share more information if you're interested after this call. We also have some information on our website. We can send that link along out to the listserv. One more slide. Can someone flip the slide, please?
I'm trying. It's not moving on me.
Okay.
There.
Thank you. So this is just a feel for where we've kind of landed with CELI has been these essential elements, which I think really can inform all of our other strategies, including CCP and other projects that include young people transitioning into college. And that is that really it requires a strong partnership between K-12 and community college. If we just kind of pick them up on the first day of college, we're not kind of best using and leveraging those partnerships that they might have in K-12, whether they be in alternative education or in a comprehensive high school. We really have been focusing on what transitional programming really works for young people. That means, improved outreach, doing on-site applications for community college, and then really looking at assessment and placement. Many of you, I'm sure, that work in the community college world are aware that assessment, math and English assessments really set young people back. And there's been some recent research that have found that it doesn't actually predict how well students are going to do in their math and English classes. So those gateway courses are really important to us moving a better system forward for young people to accelerate through their college pathway. The other thing that's really unique about CELI is that we are really focused on pathway development, which means that the sectors are the driving force to these partnerships, and that creates some unique opportunities to really talk about curriculum and alignment in ways that we think are really exciting and are different beyond just a college access lens. And then, of course, the things that need to drive all of our strategies are really that we're looking at the data that can really drive our decisions. So we are very focused on our projects, looking at how they're going to basically, show the right proof points to their leadership to make changes in their systems, and that really we want to make sure that this is not an isolated project. That we want to make sure that this is actually increasing access and persistence and equity across the college, which would include all of our target populations, including foster youth. Because ideally, if we can create a larger pathway, we're actually creating one for everyone, especially young people that are going to have a hard time entering easily into their college system. So that's a little bit about CELI. I think we want to move into the coaching. We're really excited about these coaching strategies and how they can inform all of our projects, actually. I think some of these strategies work for, all young people. And we know that foster youth surface with very particular issues that we need to be aware of. But we really feel like there's some promising practices for our 2-year and our 4-year universities that can help inform the field. So I want to turn it over to Yvonne, our first panelist, that's going to be talking about her model in Western Michigan.
Thank you so much. I'm Yvonne Unruh at Western Michigan University. Big thanks to the John Burton Foundation for putting on this webinar and including us. And thank you, Carol and Rachel, both for the information you presented. I think we're going to see some alignment across presentations today that even though that our presentations came up together independently. So what I'm most excited to share with you, I have to advance. I'm not able to advance. There we go. Okay. So just as a starting point, Western Michigan University is a 4-year university, and in 2008 we started our campus-based support program. We considered the program right from the beginning to be a think tank, a place of teaching, a place of learning. The program was set up so that we would study the work that we do in hopes of creating a responsive model to young people who had experienced foster care, transitioning to college, so that we could know how to do this work. So we were very intentional about partnering with the students. We refer to our students as experts in the lived experience of foster care, and we identify our coaches as being experts in the educational system of navigation and learning from the students about the transition experience. We really do study. It's not just studying the students as a subject, but also studying with students so that there's a constant communication of feedback, checking in, and especially understanding that we are using the same meaning in language. When students express themselves and refer to family, for example, oftentimes they were referring to fictive kin or neighbors or associations that are much broader than the definition that family might have for other students on campus or even our staff in the program. So we really study the language, study the interactions, study the responsiveness. And then over time, we've really grounded what we've observed and the feedback and the conversation in theory, and also grounded it in research. We have internal program evaluation mechanisms at play and a very active program and coach review process that ensures that we are bringing a certain clinical level of scrutiny to the work that we are doing. So why coaching? When we started in 2008, one of the scenarios we were really aware of is that the students who were aging out of foster care and coming into college had certainly had much exposure to various professional groups, and depending on their time in care, that exposure could have been actually quite high in the number of professionals and quite long in the period of time. And so we wanted to create for students that were coming to college as much as we could a normative experience of transitioning to the campus. In doing so, we had to sort of unpack the other roles, and we wanted to make sure that we were not acting in roles that were familiar or felt familiar like a caseworker or felt familiar like a therapist, but really creating a new role that students could feel, it would feel different to them, that they could see the possibilities. And so coaching, campus coach was the term that we came up with in 2008 that felt that it did a good job to differentiate between these other roles that the students were familiar with and the new experience we were trying to create for them. We were very aware that foster care experiences resulted in exposure gaps, and so this is different than remedial. So the notion that students are missing information in the sense that they're behind and need to catch up. What our students taught us very early on, it was not that they didn't have the capacity to learn, it was that they never had the opportunity. So we were looking for ways to help students fill the gaps by creating new experiences. The students also come with a real sense of disintegration, And that's a sense of disintegration is the disconnection that happens with moving between foster families, moving between school placements, moving between therapists, moving between caseworkers, and arriving at college with this sense of many pieces of their lives, but not necessarily those pieces fitting together. And then, of course, coming to a college campus with very much with habits of survival. And so those of you I know that are on this webinar have I'm sure, appreciation for that the students have I'm going to get it done myself, and I'm not going to rely on others. It's not easy to trust others. So those habits that they form in the system are not always the most helpful in college. So our coaching really focuses on creating these new experiences, levels of integration. So individual, meaning really the intrapersonal self, so that the person's memories, their experiences, the collective of who they are, they have a chance for that to sort of come together in a sense of identity. Interpersonal integration is that all the people that are involved in their lives, short-term, long-term, how do they make sense of the network of those? And then also integration at the systems level. How do they coordinate health care, mental health, physical care, foster care services? And we focus more on new habits instead of so much looking at the problems that the students bring. We needed to have a model of coaching, pardon me, that was going to really address the needs as they were presented by the students. So this particular slide was just a sampling. We asked our coaches, at the time we had 110 students on the campus, and we said, in the last month, what issues did your students bring to you as a coach that you had to take time and focus on and address? And so you can see the number one issue was biological family issues. Depression and anxiety interfering with school was the second, and then feeling academically unprepared was the third. So those were our top three. But the other types of issues that sort of surfaced for students included lots of health problems, police involvement, substance abuse, mental health diagnosis, and you see that on the list. And the important thing to understand is that students could have more than one of these in addressing them with their coach. So we needed a model that was supportive of education, but was realistic in being able to meet the needs as the students were bringing them. So here you're looking at sort of a first overall view of the model, and my intention in this next 15 minutes that I have left is really to give you ideally a street level feel for how this coaching model works. We have a training program that helps sort of understand the unpacking of it and some of the skills that help deliver this model with fidelity to the students and produce some pretty cool outcomes that I'll show you later. But essentially, there are 7 core elements. Those are our philosophy of action, and you see that on the outside ring of the diagram. 3 practice steps, which constitutes 1 coaching interaction, and you see those outside of the pyramid, the triangle in the middle, and 1 goal, transformation. So when we look at the goal of transformation, just to begin there, because our focus is really on what are the efforts that we have underway in order to make a difference in the lives of these students as they go through their experience of higher education. So transformation was intentional. We wanted to create an experience that allowed students to not only engage in campus, thrive in campus, but really and truly and fully benefit from higher education in a way that would not just transform them in terms of better opportunity for employment, larger connections of networks of people, more opportunities and choices, but also so that student would be affecting their family members or generations to come. So within student transformation, the goal is first integration, and that is integration at the intrapersonal level, the interpersonal level, and the systems level, like I spoke about. The college graduation is that we want these students to graduate, and then the focus is on graduating not just with degree in hand, but prepared for the transition following graduation. So next, the core elements just to give you a taste of what these are, this is what we call our philosophy of action. So behind every coaching interaction where a student and a coach are meeting together and working on a particular scenario, situation, problem, celebration, whatever it is that they're looking at, these 7 elements are sort of operating in the background, and the coaches are using them as underpinnings to help really guide the interactions. It informs all coaching interactions, and as a team of coaches, it helps us to really work through some of the challenges that students can bring to campus and to coaching, as we'll see in a bit. So I want to give you just the highlights of some of these core elements. So this is not so much a summary, but these are just some highlights. But interdependence. Interdependent relationships are the core. They're the engine of our coaching model. Students and coach work together in partnership in a way where there's a sense of mutual reciprocity, and we call that reciprocal transformation. So the idea here is that while a coach and a student, when they are working together, the student is learning in the moment, understanding an insight, knowledge, or skill that is going to help them move forward with a particular challenge that's on their plate. But the coach is also gaining knowledge for how to help many other students to come. Cultural humility, very important in helping young people to establish a sense of self. This is a view of cultural sensitivity that is broader. And what it does is it really allows for the notion that foster care is its own culture. And it allows a place in the dialogue for the students to be able to sort through who am I, not just in my other roles in life, such as my race or my sexual orientation or my gender or my religion or my politics, but also who am I given all of that and my status as a former foster youth or as a current foster youth. And cultural humility acknowledges power dynamics. It acknowledges that students have less power than staff. And there's ease in discussion about how coaches and students communicate about power. Learner-centered, so we really focus on how does the student learn? What does that student bring to the communication right from the get-go? There's tolerance for mistakes. We know that these are early, like late adolescents, early adults who are going to make missteps in their learning, in their problem solving, in their choices. And we account for that. We focus on the process and not so much the content. And what we mean by that is we listen deeply. So we're listening deeply to the story, the content that students are sharing, so that certainly that they feel heard. But we're looking and listening for patterns of response, patterns of understanding, patterns of action that the students have formed, that their habits, so we can help sort of shift and shape those. Teaching in real time is really teaching live. So we're teaching on the go and in the moment with students, and that can happen face-to-face, it can happen texting, it can happen on the telephone, it can happen by email. Large focus is skill development, so we are naming, describing, practicing in the sense of role-playing, and helping students to generalize skills that will be assets, not just in college, but in career, in relationship, in being a general citizen. Network development, we know that when these students graduate, it's not enough for them just to have skills. They need to build out a network, both socially and professionally. And so that is a constant dynamic that is working in the coach-student interaction. And then finally, student feedback and data-driven decision-making are key elements. So we're really always keeping a set of feedback and feedback loops that help us to refine our practice and how to respond to different student problems. And I'm waiting for the slide to change. Okay. I think, no. All right. So now we're moving to the inside of the circle, which is the 3 practice steps. And so the 3 practice steps are, this is the heart of what happens between a coach and a student in an interaction. And so again, an interaction can be 1 hour, it can be 5 minutes. In the beginning, it takes time to teach the students these interactions, but over time they can happen with ease and with quickness and without losing any clarity. So assessing 7 life domains, prioritizing student needs, and then teaching. So the cycle of teaching and learning. What I'm going to do is sort of walk you through each of those steps to give you a flavor for them. So this is what the practice steps look like. As a coach would be looking at a tool for navigating working with a student. So assess the 7 domains. So first thing that happens between the coach and the student is they're assessing how is the student, where is the student struggling or where is the student thriving. And each of those 7 domains, which are drawn from the Casey Family Programs, is an area that can really get a student off track of their education. So we would ask the student, so how's, which of these, they can start where they want. So, where would you say that, your strong points are today? Where are you struggling today? And building out sort of a balance of strengths and struggles because they are always both present. Once that assessment happens, that there's that discussion between the coach and the student, the next is to move to prioritize. Now, first thing that happens in prioritize is the coach, coach is going to ask the student to say, of the domains that you have identified sort of some struggles, which domain is the priority today? Which one do you want to work on? So if a student says, for example, my financial aid check didn't come in, I think I'm failing a class, and I'm having a fight with my roommate, the question is, which of those is actually your priority in this moment to work on? So starting where the student is at. And then we move to prioritizing through a needs hierarchy, and I'll explain more in a minute with a larger diagram, and then to teaching, to the cycle of teaching and learning. So in those 3 steps, here we see the assessing 7 domains. So I talked about a coach and a student will have a conversation quickly about, so where are you struggling, where are you thriving, and the student would identify the different areas. It's an easeful conversation. The student is able to bring to mind and speak about, this is where I'm at today. And some of the students will say, they might identify there was some violence with a family member, or they may tell you that they've run out of their prescription medication, or they might tell you that they feel like they don't belong on campus. And you may have a sense as a coach which one of those is most important, but it's really important to get that sense from the student, so that, because they're going to want to work on what is most important to them. In the prioritize, this is a point in the process where the coach has the opportunity, first of all, to say, is the concerns that I'm hearing from this student, are these concerns that the student needs to sort of work through, understanding how to meet and work through these challenges on an individual level, or is this student actually encountering system challenges? So a common system challenge is students who are not able to find housing because they don't have co-signers. Students who are not getting their education training voucher checks in time because there are system delays. So there are times when a student will present issues where the coach, especially through having worked with other students, is able to respond to the student to say, this is actually not just a problem for you. This is a problem that is being experienced by a number of students, and we're going to work on that at a program level. At the student level, so inside, you see Maslow's hierarchy, if you're familiar with that. The question comes up is, if a student is having an issue with a particular domain, and so let's say the issue has to do with fighting with your roommate. The process here is that the coach is looking at where does the student fall on this hierarchy of needs. And if a student is struggling, for example, with not having a place to live, then the focus of the coaching interaction is really going to focus on, we need to secure you having a place to live before we can start talking about other levels of need that you may have. And so it's a way that helps sort through what is the level of intervention that's going to happen with this problem. The third and final step of the coaching interaction is to teach. And this is a fairly simple cycle, which begins with the question always, what does a student need to know, do, or understand in order to move towards graduation and transition to career? So we're always keeping the long-term view for the student. We're always making sure that when we are engaging with a student in the moment, that we are teaching skills that will benefit them long-term for transformation. Once it's decided that this is a student who may be needing just simply information, and once they have the information, they can act on that information and move forward, that might be the focus of the intervention. Sometimes a student needs to learn a skill, and so a coach might work with a student to actually develop the skill, practice the skill, or maybe walk with the student to another department on campus where some problem solving has to take place so that there's some support that way. In the naming of the intervention, we're also asking the question of how is the student and the coach going to know if progress is maintained. So this gets back to the issue of data. How do we know that when the time is spent between a coach and a student and they are working together to problem solve, that is of benefit to the student? So they will identify some measures, and those measures can be simple in terms of a task that a student has completed, maybe an assessment of the quality of the student's follow-up interaction. But there's a way for the coach and the student to come back and say, did you complete the task? Did you try the new skill? How did it go? Where did you get stuck? And there's opportunity in step 4 that if there's a mistake made or that progress isn't achieved, that the coach and the student sort of can go back through the cycle. So what it looks like in the day-to-day when we put the model into practice is that you can see on the right-hand side, the coaches are working with the full model, but they are teaching students the 3 steps or the 3 practice steps. So students can learn to assess, prioritize, and teach on their own, and they can go to their coaches for consultation or to help fill in some of the gaps. So in a 4-year institution, what we're seeing is that over time, we're seeing that the communication between students and coaches becomes very rich later on. But this actually can happen within 1 year and within 2 years. So we believe that the model has application for a 2-year college level as well. The results of the coaching interaction are some of them. The mutual transformation is that students actually learn to self-coach. And we like to say that when a student graduates from Western Michigan University, they actually are a beginning level coach. The coaches also gain in the sense that they build their capacity to teach in real time. They have lots of examples. They can start to anticipate what some of the challenges will be for students by having experienced other students. As I mentioned, once taught, the coaching interaction can be applied in a brief amount of time. And ideally, we have high frequency, so lots of contact, and by lots I mean it can be a couple times a week of connecting with a student through email, through text, through in-person, but the interactions do not have to be long. In the beginning, they're longer because we're teaching the model, but over time they can be briefer. And the coaching interactions, if you are working with a team, can really bring consistency to student communication with multiple professionals. So in the case of Western, we have 7 coaches on staff. A student can step into the program space and really interact with any coach and receive consistent communication about a challenge that they might be working on. So we're reinforcing really those new habits over time. Our data at this point is very encouraging. We started in 2008, so we don't have graduation data yet to report, but what you're looking at here is 3rd semester retention data. And in the first year, 2008, what you'll see is our students from foster care at Western, only about 46% of them returned to campus in the 2nd year. compared to about 75% of our other first time in any college students on campus. That was the year we did not have a coaching model. That was a year where we had a scholarship and we had put together some other services. That was the year that we learned. In 2009, 10, 11, and so on, you'll see that we have increased our third semester retention rate for students from foster care, and we believe that's largely due to the students or to the coaching model. And then my last comment is just that the coaching model does have 3 levels to it. So level 1 is a level that introduces you to the concepts and the framework that I have summarized here today. Level 2 gets into more advanced concepts, and then level 3 is for people who are really jazzed about the work that we're doing and want to participate not just in being a coach, but training other coaches. So with that, I will shift attention to Leslie, who's going to also take you through a coaching model.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. And I just wanted to note here that you will have an opportunity to ask questions of both of us after the completion of my presentation. So greetings, everyone. My name is Leslie Brown, and I'm Director of Coaching at Beyond Emancipation, which is a nonprofit organization located here in Oakland, California. Today, I'm really excited to tell you all about our new coaching model that has really helped our organization to improve youth services, enhance our staff support, and really transform the way that we work as a community. I'm going to start by really describing our model, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the application of the model in one of our programs that is really working in partnership with one of our local colleges. I'm attempting to change the slide, so there might be a slight delay. Okay. So founded in 1995 and really growing steadily for nearly 15 years, Beyond Emancipation really provides a transformational environment for transition-age youth with experience in the foster care and probation system. Our goal is really to help them live more healthy, productive, and connected lives. We serve more than 900 youth ages 16 to 24 annually with services that include support in housing, employment, education, wellness, and permanency. In 2010, BE became aware of a longitudinal study showing that despite gallant efforts from service providers, that as an organization supporting foster youth emancipation, we were still finding that the outcomes for foster youth beyond care were really, really harsh. They had some harsh realities. As you notice, some of the stats above, over 70% of all California state penitentiary inmates have spent time in the foster care system. Also looking at graduation rates, less than 50% of foster youth graduate from high school, and only 3% were graduating from college. To transform the trajectory of these emancipating foster youth, BE began to explore empowerment models that could be used to enhance our programs and services to better equip youth for life after care. So as we started to look at transforming our organization, we knew that we were already doing really good service. So we really looked at how can we take our services from good to great. We realized that in taking this pause, that our model was very transactional and prescriptive, which provided success for youth while in our programs, but didn't necessarily support long-term success beyond our programs. To transform our model, we realized that we needed to have a more intentional approach that allowed us to hear more from the experts, which are our youth. Through our search for a new approach and model, we found coaching to be a powerful tool for promoting voice and choice. And we felt that a coaching approach would be the best way to really actualize these beliefs, because in coaching, one of the primary principles is that the person closest to the problem is also closest to the solution. So we integrated coaching for two primary reasons. The first was to support a shift in how we were thinking about our work, really moving from a supportive frame to an empowerment frame, really changing our approach from promoting success in our program to promoting success beyond our program. Therefore, moving from a transactional service approach to really a transformational service approach. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. The second reason for our coaching integration was really to develop stronger short-term goals and indicators of long-term success for our youth. We identified 5 short-term goals that could be used to support our youth using coaching as a strategy. We identified retention, skill building, goal setting, permanency, and confidence building as 5 areas that coaching could be used as a support. So after numerous conversations with others in the field, BE found that many pre-existing coaching models weren't flexible enough to meet the unique needs of this population. Therefore, starting in 2011, BE began to develop a unique coaching case management / crisis management hybrid model that we call Creative, Connected, Resourceful, or Whole, or CCRW, as a strategy to support both youth and organizational transformation. So we see creative as really seeing our young people as creative in their decision making and their goal setting, really recognizing their connectedness to our organization and to others within the community, really helping them to see their resourcefulness and identifying strategies to really pull their own resourcefulness out, and really starting to see them as whole. So not really slicing them into the segments and in the way that our service model rolls out for foster youth with, your case manager here and then your leadership development programs over here. We really looked at how can we enhance our model so that it becomes more holistic. We designed our coaching model really based upon our coaching stance that we believe that transition age youth are creative, connected, resourceful, and whole, and that they are really the experts. So this slide here really represents how our model has changed from a transactional model to a transformational model. And if I could really identify some line arrows without creating too much confusion for your eyes, you'll see that there is a correlation between the transactional and the transformational approach. So we really moved from a responsive service model or reactive service model to really a proactive model. We really moved from really providing just drop-in services to really moving to more relationship-driven and cohesive in our services, which promoted more of a moving from individual services to more coordinated services, so youth could access multiple opportunities within our organization. This promoted our youth engaging for longer periods of time, which allowed them to access the multiple services in a more connected way, which really deepened this idea of interdependence between both our staff, our programs, our services, and our community collaborative partners that were a part of this. We moved from them just receiving individual support to really ramping up our groups and cohorts as a way to build peer support. With the development of the new model, BE found that we would still offer crisis case management and emancipation planning, but really redesign these core services to ensure that youth would be in the driver's seat, holding the keys and setting the course for their future. If you take a look at the graphic, the lighter bubbles on the left represent our model prior to coaching integration, while the bubbles on the right represent our model after coaching integration. You will notice that our services moved from crisis intervention, where we were responsive, to crisis management, where we're truly being proactive in both our plannings and in our assessments. We moved from this rotational service delivery where youth move from staff to staff depending upon their needs, a direct correlation to our internal silo program, to an intentional community building model that provides time and opportunity for youth to build relationships with staff and other peers, as well as with individuals outside of our organization. We also integrated coaching groups and cohorts to support peer connection that we know that can support them far beyond our program. We moved from a case management approach that was really based upon our service goals to a case management coaching approach that is youth-driven to support long-term outcomes. Finally, we moved from a catch-all emancipation planning approach that provided support based upon an ideal timeline, 180 days before exit, up to 2 years before exit, to really a workshop/training approach that really promoted skill building and leadership development opportunities, both internally and externally. Through the new CCRW model, BE has begun to create a space for youth to build capacity, expand possibilities, and achieve greater fulfillment and success while staying on track with life objectives in 5 core areas: housing, education, employment, permanency, and wellness. This exciting new model is really allowing for our team to meet youth where they are and support them as they grow and thrive. So the model has demonstrated that it's supporting you to articulate their vision, identify values, set goals, as well as create a plan for the development beyond care. Through this new model, BE has begun to create a space using coaching to really support confidence building the coaching groups and cohorts, to really look at our crisis management as a way to really support retention by planning ahead, using the coaching/case management approach to really support youth to setting SMART goals and really to provide an opportunity for our staff to provide some accountability monitoring to ensure that they're moving on those goals. Really using the training and workshops as a way to build skills and really incorporating these youth leadership opportunities as a way to really support long-term professional development and skill building. Also really focusing on this intentional community building as a way to really support relationship building, first with our team and then as a bridge to support relationship building overall. So knowing that our youth have been a part of a system for varying periods of time, some of them have found that a lot of times the system has really played the role of a parent. And so they haven't had as much opportunity to really test their own voice and their own choice. And understanding that, we needed to design a coaching model that allowed for us to meet youth where they were at. So this slide really represents how we're integrating and infusing coaching into our pre-existing program. If you look at the number on the left, highlighted in blue, is really the coaching approach that we are able to provide based upon where they're at. And our goal is really to move from staff-led, where staff have a lot of voice, really moving all the way up to youth-led, where youth are the primary decision makers, the primary people that are setting goals, and we as a staff are supporting them in their growth and their development. So understanding that, we understand also that this is a process. So the 10% staff-led, it really starts with our person at the front desk that is using the CCRW model to really see our young people as creative, connected, resourceful, and whole. The 25-75 level, which is staff-driven, still understands that youth need trust in order to build their voice and choice. So it really is that first or second or third meeting where it's really developing a relationship and youth are really testing their voice. The 50% is really when we began to allow and really support the youth to become the primary partner in deciding what their goals are in their time with us, and us figuring out how we can provide them with the resources, the skills, and the support to support them as they thrive. The 75% level has really been incorporated through some of our cohorts, our groups, and our workshops. We're using evaluation and also using youth development. We're really supporting youth to help us to design and deliver curriculum. And finally, the youth-led, which I stated is our primary goal for our coaching, is really where youth are the drivers in the driver's seat, and we are supporting them to achieve both their short and their long-term goals. So one of the places that we have began to really support our coaching integration is in one of our programs that we call B2B, which is a learning community that is based upon a partnership between Beyond Emancipation and Laney College, and really delivered through their EOPS office to support current and former foster youth as they navigate their way through a 2-year college program. The purpose of this program is really to nurture students in their belief and in their ability to be successful scholars and professionals. Really we're there to really help them to achieve better outcomes and ensure that they can complete their 2-year college program, and really to create pathways to completion and also really to livable wages and meaningful life experiences while in college. So we infuse coaching into our B2B program in a couple different ways. One is, like I said, the CCRW, which is our model, really supporting this idea of a coaching stance in the way that we see our youth, in the way that we work with our youth, and also in helping to set the expectations for our young people. In one of the trainings that I did for a couple of the Pathways participants, in Southern California, one thing that I asked them was, what happens when you begin to see the foster youth that you serve in your program as creative, connected, resourceful, and whole? If you take away all of the statistics that tell you what their outcomes will look like long term, and you really begin to see them as young people whose capacity you can support so that they can change those outcomes, how does that change the way that work with them as a service provider? And what we found is that small shift really changes the way that you engage and support accountability with the young people. And that's one of the primary platforms that we use within this B2B program. The other thing that we use are our one-on-one coaching opportunities where we work with students, and then also the coaching cohort, where we allow students or provide a space for students to come together and work on various issues and problems and barriers that are impacting the entire group. So one of the skills, I am a certified coach, and one of the skills that I train staff on that are supporting this program is on this strategy that I call the coach approach. The coach approach really provides this space for the person who is acting as the coach or as the coach supporter to really listen on multiple levels, really begin to ask questions that really allow for the student to be the learner and the driver. I say mostly curious questions, which are what and how. Really rarely asking questions around when and why, and really keeping them open-ended. These are questions that really help to clarify the issue, and really the coach's role is to support the youth to draw out a vision of success, really helping them to lift up possibilities as they emerge. The other role of the coach is really to help them to make connections around how they can achieve that goal, and also to help them to recognize the progress that they're making between the coaching sessions, which is really supporting them to pay attention to this accountability and ensure that they're moving towards their longer-term goals in a more strategic way. The way that we're rolling out this strategy as a cohort is really in creating a curriculum that supports team building, really support creating a conscious community, supporting them as they navigate their work-life balance or school-life balance, helping them to identify shadows or barriers that will prevent them from success, support their decision-making, as well as them with relationship building, both between peers, supervisors, professors, or however it shows up for them. And also supporting them to build their communication skills so they can be more proactive with their voice and choice. And finally, really helping them to celebrate their small accomplishments along the way. So some of the ways that we've really supported the coaching integration has been with training, ongoing training. With the staff of Laney, we plan a half-day planning retreat annually. We provide a half-day curriculum development with the instructor that is helping us to roll out our coaching programs. Right now we're partnering with the ELPS office to provide a coaching basic introductory course that is used to integrate the coaching. So we've done that this semester with the 8 coaching trainings. Next semester we'll be integrating it with the professor in a co-designed curriculum. We have a monthly collaborative meeting that kind of supports our ongoing work together with Laney College. And then I provide monthly training for our staff around new coaching strategies and approaches that we are finding are really supporting our youth in real time. Some of the outcomes that we're seeing based upon a 4.0 schedule is, 4.0 scale, is that our youth are finding that the coaching is really helping them to feel respected and safe in the space. It's really helping them to become the decision makers and set goals. And they're finding that staff are really doing it in a way that is non-judgmental and really helping them to push and grow. Some of the quotes that we're seeing from young people about how the coaching cohort is supporting them in B2B is that it's really helping them to feel more comfortable with peers. It's really supporting them to build confidence, and it's really supporting them in their problem-solving skills as well as communication skills. BE is available to support other organizations with coaching integration, as we're finding that coaching as an approach can really be used to support various different models. And some of the trainings that we provide are around the coaching stance and how staff can bring their authentic selves into the coaching environment, really helping to support cohort development and coaching cohorts for pre-existing programs, and really training on this coach approach and what it means and shifts in the way that you provide and deliver services, as well as technical assistance support. Below, you'll see my contact information if you should have questions, and I believe I'm going to hand it back over to Devin to open it up for even more questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Leslie and Yvonne for such a rich and fabulous discussion of both of your similar but unique models. So we have a few questions that have come in. The first question, Yvonne, I'm going to direct to you. What has happened in the last few years when you've had a student who continues to come in with the same issue or challenge?
Meaning, I can answer that actually in a couple of different ways. What tends to happen is that students who are have really developed those survival habits that I spoke about when they're coming into college. So they might have, for example, it could be difficulty reaching out, asking for help, more likely to do it on their own. Students who have challenges sort of maintaining relationships past maybe even say a few months. Students who have challenges with saving money, students who have challenges with planning. So those are some of the types of problems that would be what we would call repeat problems. So they might show up with different people. For example, if relationships are a struggle, there's the relationship pattern continues, or if saving money, it might be spent on different things, or maybe it's a rent problem this month and next month it's a not having enough money to buy books. So that actually happens a lot. And one of the responses of the coaching model and why we focus on sort of process over content is we're not so much, we're helping the student in any particular moment resolve the challenge before them. So if it's a financial one, and one moment it's trying to figure out how to pay rent, and then the next moment it's trying to figure out how to pay your cell phone, and then the next moment how to pay books. So we're responding to each of those, but in each instance we are looking at the underlying pattern of the student and focusing, if I jump to right through to the teaching and learning cycle, the question between the coach and the student is, so what is it that you need to know, do, or understand to get your spending habits under control so that when you graduate, you not only walk the stage, but you actually have some money in the bank to help you with that transition between graduating, leaving college, and getting to your career. So what will happen is that, and this is very normative in young adult development, is the student will present the same challenge over and over, and so the coach is sort of meeting it with consistency in responding to the process, the pattern of behavior, working with the content, working with the particular issue that's in the moment, but teaching two skills. And what happens is you see that student change over time. And so it might, some students might go through 3 or 4 rounds of an issue before they realize, oh my gosh, I really don't know how to save money, or oh my gosh, I really am struggling with relationships everywhere. And so the consistency in teaching, the focus on the process, the development of awareness, knowledge, or skills helps the student arrive at a different place. And then typically what happens is we move on to the next challenge.
Great. Well, thank you for that response. And the other question for you, Yvonne, was how many students do you serve right now in the program?
So that's such a, I think, an interesting question, because here we have 160 students who are enrolled at Western every year. And we have over the years, we have taken in about 50 students per year, and we're going on 7 years. So we have about 350 students. And so the 160 are our primary target, but what we also find, and I'm sure many others out there have experienced this, where number one, when the students graduate, there's still some, touching back and saying, hey, especially with our coaching interactions, we can facilitate a communication pretty quickly to help a student sort of resolve an issue. But we're also seeing students who have stopped out, and we assist with that stop out process, then wanting to come back. So our target number is 160, but our reach is more than that.
Thank you. And then the other question for you, the last one here, is if someone is interested in the WMU coach training, how do they get connected to that?
So do we have the slide, Devin, the contact information for Jamie Crandall?
Oh, I didn't include Jamie, but I can send that out to everybody.
Okay. So I would say for this, if you're looking at this slide, just email me. So Jamie Crandall is our training and certification coordinator, and is the person that would be doing training. And so I would refer your communication to her. She just happens to be out on leave until next week.
Great. Thank you. And then I'm going to move on to Leslie. We've got a question that came in, interested in how many youth are being assisted at Laney College using this coaching model.
Mm-hmm. We currently have 25 youth in our B2B program that are engaged in both one-on-one and cohort coaching.
And the other question for you, Leslie, was there, I guess the first question would be, were there young people that you were serving in your previous transactional way that then were still being served by your program when your transformational CCRW approach started? And was there any resistance to that? How, because we have a number of folks on the call who have been serving foster youth in, in different ways, right, using different methods. And so how would you best advise on going to a different way, a different model to make it easy on the young people you're serving?
Sure. So we have really been supporting the development of the coaching model over the last 4 years, and really intensely over the last 2 years. And so during that time, we have had young people enter our services at age 16 that are still a part of our services now. And the primary changes that we've heard from the youth in the way that they're feeling the impact of the coaching has really been around them having a lot more voice. So traditionally, the amount of time that we would spend with a young person in our case management would be about 30 minutes. Working with that young person on their case management plan. Now with the coaching, we'll see that same young person for about 45 minutes to 60 minutes, just because it really is about identifying what that young person needs, and really about the relationship. So our youth are able to talk a lot more about what they see as the priorities as far as what's next for them. While we still have those 5 primary areas, the young person can let us know what's next for them. So that's been some of the changes that we've seen.
Great, thank you. And then I guess in the same vein with that question, how was it to go from individual coaching to group coaching for the young people?
Yeah, for the young people, they really enjoy the group coaching as a way to really explore. They also are finding that kind of through that, they are identifying with people who are facing similar issues and are able to create strategies that we as staff people may not have been able to come up with. But as peers with similar lived experience, with the coaching tools, they're able to actually facilitate that conversation. Just using even just the basic coaching approach of asking what and how questions, they're helping their peers to really unlock kind of new ways of learning and of thriving.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. Well, if there aren't any more questions, we've gone through all of them here, and I just again wanted to say thank you so much to our panelists. And a recording of this, along with a PowerPoint, will be available on the California College Pathways website. We hope you've enjoyed this web seminar and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.